We want to begin with a land acknowledgement. For millennia, the Kumeyaay people have been part of this land. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the San Diego State community, we acknowledge this legacy. We promote this balance and harmony. We find inspiration from this land, the land of the Kumeyaay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Yes, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to Reborder 2021. My name is Cristina Alfaro, and I serve as the Associate Vice President of SDSU International Affairs. This year, our focus is a nuestra salud, confronting public health and mental health challenges and solutions in the transborder region. Before I introduce our facilitator for this morning, I would like to thank SDSU's San Diego State University's President De La Torre for her vision and her leadership. The Reborder Conference, now in its third year, is a realization of her vision for the US and Mexican researchers, students, practitioners, public and policy experts, and community stakeholders to contribute innovative solutions to border issues and challenges. I want to thank you for your leadership, Dr. De La Torre, because this has been your vision from the beginning, and it's really grown. Last year we had 1,200, the first year we had 500 participants, last year we had 1,200, and today as we speak, we're now getting to 1,000, and I think a lot of people are registering as we speak. But I would also like to take this opportunity to give a very special thanks to Maria Keckler, who has been the lead coordinator for this conference since the inception. So Maria, just a heartfelt, if we were in person, I would be handing her a bouquet of flowers. So Maria, that's coming your way. I would also like to thank Maybelline Arevalo, who is my executive assistant, because she has also been a co-coordinator this year. And of course, there are so many people to thank because this conference would not be possible without the help of our IT team and our translators and so on and so forth. But I would like to go ahead and now introduce our facilitator, who is Dr. Hala Madanat, and she serves as SDSU's Interim Vice President of Research and Innovation. She stewards the university's expansive research enterprise, including the development of SDSU Mission Valley Innovation District and SDSU's research advancement, research support services, and technology transfer efforts. And she also takes care of the SDSU Foundation, as well as the university's startup incubator, the ZIP Launchpad. With no further ado, I will hand it over to Dr. Madanat. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with all of you this morning to address this very important issue of public health and mental health in our transborder region. As a public health researcher myself, who's worked in our region, I recognize the importance of having a space for us to discuss, understand, and recognize the importance of unique perspectives in understanding the challenges and developing the solutions together for those challenges. In the next 2 days, you'll have the opportunity to engage with expert presentations, artistic presentations, and expressions, to engage with conversations and find inspiration for new connections and collaborative opportunities. We hope that you will attend the full conference and also learn from the impressive experiences and leadership of our binational students. I invite you to visit the conference website and read the full biographies of our speakers. You can find them at reborder.sdsu.edu. At this time, I want to thank our conference partners from Mexico, CETIS University and Universidad Autónoma de Baja California, as well as our distinguished panel of guests from which you will hear later this morning. As you know, putting together a conference of this scope takes great collaboration and partnerships, and we are grateful for all of their leadership and contribution. I also want to thank the University of Michigan for sponsoring the conference simultaneous translation, as well as our arts and mental health panel. During tomorrow's opening session, you can learn more about our current partnership to provide professional development opportunities for educators in Michigan and California around the theme of global migration. But this morning, I have the honor to introduce each of our panelists and invite them to make their remarks. First, I would like to welcome San Diego State University President, Dr. Adela de la Torre. Dr. de la Torre is the 9th president of San Diego State University and the first woman to serve in that role. She brings with her 30 years of service and leadership roles within institutions of higher education, including California State University System, the University of Arizona, and the University of California, Davis. Prior to her appointment as president, she served as the vice chancellor for student affairs and campus diversity at UC Davis. Dr. de la Torre's research focuses on aspects of Latino community health, an area in which SDSU is a national leader. So to you, Dr. de la Torre, to start us off this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Hala. Bienvenidos. Welcome to San Diego State University and the Reborder 2021, A Nuestra Salud. As Hala mentioned, this is an area of research that I have spent decades, and it's critical to the health of Mexican Americans and Mexicanos, both sides of the border. This is the 3rd annual binational conference at SDSU, seeking innovative solutions to some of the most pressing issues of our time. And what a group. You are among more than 800 participants and stakeholders who've registered from more than 100 institutions around the world to listen and share your energy, ideas, and collaboration. Reborder focuses a keen eye on the commerce, cultural activity, and traditions we share in our cross-border region. California and Baja California may be separated by an international border, but our businesses, our health, our natural resources, and our education are all shared matters, and they affect millions of people. Previous Reborder conferences have explored water policy, mobility, and migration in the transborder region. This year, for 2 days, we will take on challenges and solutions to public health and mental health. I look forward to everything our speakers and panels of scholars, policymakers, students, and other experts have to offer. You'll have a chance to join any of 10 conversations or pláticas on topics that include air quality and health impacts in Imperial County, health career readiness on both sides of the border, and mitigating the lasting impact of COVID-19. We seek not just to talk about these problems, but to contribute to the solutions. Before we begin, I'd like to thank some of the distinguished guests joining us over these next 2 days. Today, Dr. Fernando Garcia, president of CETIS University, California State Senator Ben Hueso, representing the 40th District, and Ambassador Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez, Consul General of Mexico in San Diego. And tomorrow, United States Congressman Juan Vargas, representing California's 51st District, who we're proud to have delivering our closing remarks. We're delighted to have all of them join us. With our partners at CETIS and UABC, San Diego State University is well positioned to lead the discussion on the vital matters of public health and mental health you'll be hearing about, and to focus upon them in a binational context. In fact, we say so in the title of our 5-year strategic plan. It's called We Rise, We Defy, Transcending Borders, Transforming Lives. And in it, we commit to expanding on our stature as a community-engaged, border-connected, Hispanic-serving institution. The commitment is regularly being recognized. Just last month, SDSU was rewarded for its commitment to advancing Latinx students with the Seal of Excelencia from the organization Excelencia in Education. And one of our biggest research interests is transboundary water, which, as I mentioned a moment ago, was the subject of our inaugural Reborder conference in 2019. This year, Reimagining Transboundary Water is a cross-disciplinary project at SDSU, just launched under the banner of 6 of our faculty-led big ideas. Working with researchers in the Imperial Valley in Mexico, a team of civil construction and environmental engineers, geographers, economists, and public health scientists will build a transboundary community focused on solving critical water problems in the border region. This work will be done at all scales, from reducing the microbes in polluted waterways like the Tijuana River to looking at flooding and water scarcity. I expect their findings to have an impact for generations. But let's turn to today. There's been no greater or more dire public health issue in our lifetimes than the COVID-19 pandemic, which has registered over 250 million cases and claimed 5 million lives, 5 million worldwide. It's a focus of one of our panels tomorrow. For the last 21 months, SDSU has taken a leadership position in San Diego County and the border region to tackle COVID and its prevention. Through multiple grants and partnerships, our researchers have investigated the reasons behind COVID vaccine inequities in communities of color and to spread the word on the availability of vaccines. We were one of 6 universities nationwide selected for Commune Vex, a national coalition led by Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security and Texas State University to develop more effective vaccination efforts for underserved Latinx, Black, and Indigenous communities by talking to people at the community level. Here, the focus was the South County border region. Our researchers, who included health professors and anthropologists, learned about the special circumstances and the hurdles faced by individuals who cross the border for their health care. They learned about the critical role played by the community health workers known as promotores and the unwarranted fears of some immigrants that accepting a vaccine might make them ineligible for permanent admission. It's no wonder their funding was recently renewed. We've worked with schools to bring COVID testing into homes and to collect data on how well such testing works. We've assisted with contract tracing among some of San Diego's hardest hit populations, and we've hosted both COVID testing and vaccine services for the entire community on our campus in cooperation with the San Diego County Health and Human Services Agency, and also at SDSU Imperial Valley. Like public primary and secondary schools, we've confronted tremendous challenges in taking education to students in their homes and providing students with the support they need to succeed. We know COVID has had an impact on student mental health, and SDSU has kept attuned to these concerns, expanding on-campus student activities and nighttime programming when the fall semester got underway. We're taking steps to warn everyone of the misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation on COVID that is circulating out there. SDSU students have multiple outlets for counseling and psychological services. SDSU is also part of the solution for another critical issue in public health. The nationwide shortage of nurses occurring as a need for healthcare is on the rise. Every year, about 200 students graduate from the SDSU School of Nursing to help. Most of them stay and work in the area. The school collaborates with UABC on a number of initiatives, including an exchange program. The Cross-Border Experience Program, currently on hold due to COVID, drew nearly 30 nursing students in its most recent year. Just 2 weekends ago, some nursing students participated in a 4-day faculty-led international program in Mexico, the first of its kind since the pandemic. Our School of Public Health, which celebrated its 40th anniversary this year, now prepares nearly 3 out of every 4 members of the public health workforce in our county. And we have many more experts on such issues as disparities in healthcare, nutrition, obesity, and aging and physical activity. And I feel just as fortunate to have all of you here as committed participants in these important conversations, these important pláticas. Thank you for your leadership and all the work that you do. I hope you enjoy the conference.
Thank you, President De La Torre. Our second panelist, it's my pleasure to welcome CETIS President, Dr. Fernando Leon Garcia. He's been president of CETIS University since 2010, leading the institution to accreditation in the USA and to becoming one of the most internationalized universities in Mexico. Prior to that, he served as Chancellor of City University of Seattle's International Division, with a presence across the Americas, Europe, and Asia. Before joining City University, he served as Chief Academic Officer of Apollo International, University of Phoenix International, and before that as Chief Academic Officer of CETIS. Thank you so much for being with us, and I'll let you have your remarks.
Thank you, Hala. Greetings, everyone. Muy buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, wherever it is that you're located. I want to congratulate President Adela de la Torre and her team, as today we start the third annual Binational Conference Reborder 2021, addressing some of the most important topics of our times, the challenges and solutions that public health and mental health represent for the Transporter region. The importance of the Transporter region and the reach of this, I think, can be highlighted by a result that was just announced a few days ago, where as part of the World Design Contest, the San Diego-Tijuana area was awarded the prize over Moscow. I think that the uniqueness is something that is global and that we should definitely continue working on. Since COVID, we have moved from emergency mode to transition mode and preparing for the post-pandemic era. As part of our vision, CETIS University believes in a constant reflection on social dynamics with a cross-disciplinary emphasis, and that this will lead to a positive change for the community. The pandemic has taught us empathy, solidarity, flexibility, and opportunity. The importance of mental health is present more than ever, with the aftereffects of a pandemic that has not yet stopped taking place in our students, faculty, staff members, community in general. At CETIS, we have reinforced our mental health programs, psychological assistance, academic consultations, and an extensive program of training in comprehensive education for our faculty, where virtual environments as well as face-to-face and hybrid models are integrated. While we face the dynamics of the post-pandemic, higher education institutions must understand the long-lasting effect of COVID-19 in the communities. From our binational region, we can start addressing them, not only on one side of the border, but on both sides of the border. What are the challenges that are waiting ahead? This transition stage has taught us that it is through binational collaboration that we can face them and find solutions that will help students bring in an innovative, international, and comprehensive approach. On behalf of CETIS University, it's an honor to co-host this conference and be part of this discussion. We invite you to actively participate and create spaces of knowledge and understanding. Thank you for being a part of Nuestra Salud, confronting public health and mental health challenges and solutions in our Transporter Region Conference. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much for those remarks. It is my pleasure now to introduce U.S. Senator Ben Hueso. He has served as California State Senator for the 40th District since 2013. He represents the cities of Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, National City, portions of the city of San Diego, and all of Imperial County. Senator Hueso has worked extensively on initiatives regarding water quality, consumer protection, public safety, and job creation. He's a strong advocate for education, environmental issues, and binational affairs. He has championed legislation helping small businesses, protecting victims of domestic violence, prohibiting the sale of synthetic drugs, securing clean and reliable water resources, and stimulating the economy. Senator Hueso chairs both the Senate Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Communications and the Senate Select Committee on California-Mexico Cooperation. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody. Good morning if you're in here in the United States. But it's a pleasure to be with you, and I want to thank you for hosting this forum. I think it's important that people understand the challenges facing the border, both and the opportunities, and just some of the obstacles that are in front of us in achieving a more perfect solution toward a better economy, better health, and all around a better quality of life for all the people of the border region that really extends beyond the border into the countries of the United States and Mexico, and perhaps all of the Americas. The economy here and all the work here and the populations of people that live along the border really do contribute to the rest of the world in so many different ways. I represent a California State Senate district. I sit on the California State Legislature as a senator. My district is the southernmost district. That's why it's number 40. There are 40 senators. And I represent a district that is the entire border with California, Mexico. And it also abuts the state of Arizona. So I'm the only Senate district in California that borders both a foreign country and another state in the United States. When I first got elected, I got elected to the city council. And back then, representing the city of San Diego, I received a briefing about border issues and how the city of San Diego addresses, engages in the border conversation. The meeting lasted about an hour. And in that hour, I was only able to get a very small outline of all the issues facing the border. And they go from health to security to transportation to environment. So many things that are often challenged by this political border that has been created by these two countries that we're a part of. And everything along the border seems to get complicated by that border. So if there is a health problem, it is exacerbated by the border. In COVID, it all became very clear that we had the highest transmission rates, the lowest access to medical care. We had businesses that immediately went out of business because of the quarantine. We had people's lives that were interrupted in a very profound fashion. If everyone in the country's lives were interrupted, they were interrupted more if you lived along the border. In 1820, when James Monroe was elected president, he announced the Monroe Doctrine, which was a concept to create more of an American economy, separating a little bit from dependence on Europe. And that was a new idea. And nothing really significantly came out of that. Much later, over 100 years later, 150 years later, the European Union was formed. And in its formation, the European Union basically knocked down tariffs. They came up with more cooperation where you can cross from one country to another without having to cross through a major revision or a border. And that has elevated Europe as an economy that rivals the United States, rivals China. It has created an enormous and successful economy. One of the reasons California went from being the sixth largest economy to the fifth largest economy, because England exited the European Union and their economy went down, which shows that cooperation is very integral to helping to improve the United States and Mexico and all of the Americas' economies. Yet, why in the US and Mexico have we been engaging in tariffs and a highly controlled border and highly controlled trade? If we measure what crosses the border on a train, 400 billion crosses in truck traffic every year, 80 billion by train. The economy that is interrupted by the border represents $700 billion in annual trade between Mexico and the US. That's a number that's equal to the 18th largest country in the world, Turkey. Imagine if the people of Turkey and their economy had to go through a bureaucratic process in every transaction that they made. It wouldn't be the 18th largest economy in the world. Yet, despite that, we're able to, Mexico and the US, produce things together. Often when you see a sign made in USA or made in Mexico, if it comes from a product made in the border region, largely it was made in the US and Mexico, sometimes crossing the border 3, 4, or 5 times to finish that product. When you consider that we produce things together and that any impediment to that production could could further make it less competitive to produce that project, it behooves us as people from a binational region, both as Americans and Mexicans, to consider why we need further cooperation. I've been working for years to solve some of those problems that we have along the border, working to reduce border wait times, working to solve environmental crises like the Tijuana River Valley problem and the Salton Sea, the New River problems along the border that threaten not only public health, but the environment and our quality of life. I've been working to to strengthen the delivery of services in the California Office of Binational Health and to create new means by which we could better communicate to solve our problems. This is something that needs considerable work. If you consider who represents the border, I'm the only state senator. So not a lot of other politicians take an interest in this. And if you don't live near the border or are affected by it, you don't take an interest in it as well. Sometimes the most important projects to improving the quality of life in our region, in our state, are at the border. A study was done once here that showed that reducing border wait times by 15 minutes overall in the course of a year would contribute $1 billion of increase to the California economy, $1 billion. It seems that that's a very solvable problem when you put a number like 15 minutes on it, but it was a very difficult problem to address, especially when you consider we have over almost 17,000 Border Patrol agents situated along the border. Yet when you're crossing, it seems like they're never enough. And it's a big price tag. Our country spends about $28 billion a year in border security. 15 billion alone was spent on the wall, which is separate from the 28 billion. This is an enormous amount of money. And yet we are still struggling with long border wait times, with issues at the border. There's a lot of work to do in this area. And the best thing that we can do is learn more about it. So I'm very happy that you're part of this forum. And I hope that this will give you an opportunity to learn more about issues that are important to you and learn about new issues that you've never been familiar with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Ambassador Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez. He's the Consul General of Mexico in San Diego, a champion of educational collaboration across the border. He has specialized in Mexican communities in the US, as all of his designations abroad have been in the US. He's worked in the program for Mexican communities abroad at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and was the founding executive director of the Institute of Mexicans Abroad. This is the agency in charge of promoting ties and collaboration between Mexico and its diaspora. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much. I think someone has to allow my video to start. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Let me see our IT team, if you can help that. Here we go.
Thank you. I was listening to the previous speakers, to Senator Ben. Thank you very much. The only thing is that I could not see myself, but I'm finally in. I'm thrilled to participate in this third edition of the Border Conference. This is my third year participating. It's a pleasure to be again with you. I want to thank Adela de la Torre as the SU president for organizing this and for inviting us. Cristina, muchísimas gracias for making this possible. This year it is extremely important that we meet, mostly because we are getting into the end of a tunnel. We need to talk about what has the 20 months closure of the border has left all of us in terms of the millions of dollars and the thousands of jobs for local communities that we lost, but more importantly, something that it is much more difficult to measure, the loss of personal and family relations. The border reopening will provide, I'm sure, an opportunity for the recovery of our economies and tourism, but most importantly, it will bring us back together to continue the close friendship and collaboration that has made the Cali-Baja region a role model for the bilateral relations between our countries. COVID-19 has brought unprecedented consequences on the physical and mental health of our border communities, and we are just starting to understand the true measure of that impact. The anxiety, fear, and worry were the result of significant challenges on our daily lives that we all experience in the face of a partial border closure that did not allow us to see loved ones, that created economic stability as well as unemployment, particularly on this of the border. Our ability to serve our communities effectively has always depended in this binational region on the strength of our partnerships with stakeholders in different spheres, in academia, in community leaders, elected officials, health officials, so that we could provide quality services to the community needs regardless of the border. This is true for the region as a whole, and in particular, it is true for the Mexican consulate that I represent. In case of the Mexican consulate in San Diego, thanks to those partnerships, during the last year, we have been able to make this diplomatic mission, aside for COVID-19 and flu vaccination, as well as COVID-19 testing site with the support of the county. In coordination with the Public Health Agency of the County of San Diego, we also were able to vaccinate 26,000, more than 26,000 maquiladora workers at the port of entry of San Isidro, workers who did not have a tourist visa, but were allowed to enter in order to be vaccinated at a time when no one else could be vaccinated in Baja California. We did this almost 2 months ahead of the arrival, the massive arrival of COVID-19 to the state of Baja California. And that measure, which and that action, that initiative, which was the product of cross-border collaboration between many agents, not only the county health department, but also obviously CBP, which allowed us to use their facilities, or UC San Diego Health, who allowed us to use or to support our work on their nurses, or the private sector in both Tijuana and San Diego, who sponsored the whole project. That action, that initiative was the product of joint collaboration and mutual help across the border. And now we are starting a new project that is also based on the principle of collaboration and coordination between public health authorities of both sides of the border. We are in the process of vaccinating 450 minors who live in Tijuana, who are residents of Tijuana, and who will be allowed to cross in order to be vaccinated here at the Mexican consulate in San Diego. We have already started with the first 150. As you know, they have to have a 2 doses regime because they are minors, and so they will come back. And in the end, before the end of the year, we hope we will have vaccinated approximately 450 Tijuana residents who are minors, who are younger than 18 years old. We hope that the results will be successful, and so that throughout next year, we will keep on collaborating with local authorities to vaccinate as many minors as possible. We are doing this in part because we can rely on an institution that people forget usually that exists, but it has proven crucial in the midst of a pandemic, and that is the existence of the Ventanilla de Salud. The Ventanilla de Salud is a program created approximately 20 years ago in order to have a certified application assistant working at the premises of each Mexican consulate in order to help migrants do 2 things. One, take preventive measures in terms of their health. Secondly, find a medical home in case of need, regardless of their migratory status or their nationality. Obviously, little did we know that in March of 2020, the Ventanilla would play such a crucial role in coordinating efforts between the Mexican authorities in Baja California and the San Diego public health authorities in San Diego. But the Ventanilla has been in the center of that binational collaboration. This Ventanilla here in San Diego works under the auspices of a memorandum of understanding that we signed with the Border Philanthropy Partnership, headed by Andy Carey, that allow us to staff our Ventanilla. Ceci Guzman is the current director, and establish an agenda, raising funds together, the Border Philanthropy Partnership and the consulate, in order to make sure that the Ventanilla opens not only in terms of crisis, but throughout the year in order to provide informations and make referrals when needed, including, of course, in case of mental health. I hope that the dialogue we engage during the next 2 days will provide the seeds to plant a fruitful and creative way to manage our shared challenges, as it was the case during the last 20 months. I have reviewed the agenda of the conference. It will be addressing issues that are important to everybody, but particularly to binational communities that reside in a region in which local public health authorities could have the certainty that they do not control whatever happens on the other side of the border. So at the risk of saying the obvious, the only way we can confront public health challenges as the one we saw during the last year is by collaborating and keeping constant and dialogue and exchange of information on a daily basis. And for that, the consulate is here to do its share. Muchísimas gracias thank you very much, Haya, for the opportunity. It's my pleasure to participate again in the Border 2021 conference.
Thank you so much for those words. Unfortunately, Maestra Edith Montiel, the Vice Chancellor of UABC, was not able to join us this morning, but in her place, her team has created a short video that shows the efforts that UABC has made to support public health and mental health and to contribute to healthcare for the population of the state of Baja California that has been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. We will leave you with that video before we transition to our next sessions. But first, I want to thank our distinguished partners, speakers, and sponsor for opening the Reborder Conference. Immediately after this session, we have two different panels taking place. First, the session focused on public health projects will begin shortly in this room, and you can just stay here. It will start promptly at 10:15. The session focusing on early and youth education will be taking place in a breakout room. And for those of you who want to attend that session, you can click on the link that will be posted in the chat, and you can head over there. You can also go directly to the agenda at reborder.sdsu.edu to find and access the rest of the sessions for today and tomorrow. I personally will be back this afternoon with a closing student and alumni panel focused on our trans-border student population, including their needs and challenges. I hope you will join us for that. Thank you again for everyone, to Christina and her team, Maria and Maybelline, for hosting this amazing conference.
La Universidad Autónoma de Baja California tiene como prioridad salvaguardar la salud y la integridad de todos sus miembros. Ante la crisis sanitaria ocasionada por el virus COVID-19, la UABC habilitó el 100% de aulas virtuales para su oferta educativa a través de sus plataformas institucionales, además de un amplio catálogo de cursos abiertos masivos en línea, MOOC, a fin de incidir en aspectos formativos esenciales para nuestros estudiantes. De igual modo, como una manifestación del sentido de responsabilidad social de la UABC, se sumaron proyectos emergentes originados en escuelas y facultades de los 3 campus, los cuales derivaron en valiosas aportaciones para las medidas sanitarias implementadas en la institución y en todo el estado, tales como la fabricación de caretas protectoras, gel a base de alcohol, desinfectantes, ventiladores mecánicos, cámaras de intubación y medios de transporte viral para muestras biológicas, además de la apertura de los centros de diagnóstico COVID-19 en Tijuana y Mexicali y la construcción del Hospital Móvil Universitario.
La Fundación UABC se abocó a procurar fondos para el equipamiento del Hospital Móvil Universitario. Fue una tarea titánica y gracias a la colaboración del sector empresarial y también del sector estudiantil universitario y de la comunidad, que ha sido posible que alcancemos la meta establecida para el equipamiento del Hospital Móvil Universitario.
Revisamos algunas de las características de las instalaciones que son muy apropiadas para los cuidados hospitalarios, ya que los diseños de las estructuras básicas son especialmente hechos para la atención de pacientes hospitalizados. Este hospital va a ser operado por la Secretaría de Salud y estamos seguros que será una contribución muy importante para la solución del problema de salud que enfrenta la entidad.
Estamos el día de hoy aquí recibiendo por parte de la empresa de Hermosillo y asociados, el edificio de un hospital que me parece a mí que puede ayudar de alguna manera a que esta comunidad de Mexicali pues tenga un espacio, la Secretaría de Salud pueda aprovecharlo bastante bien. Es una inversión de muchos empresarios, es un esfuerzo que se unieron para ayudar y por supuesto también la Fundación UABC, la universidad lo recibe con muchísimo gusto, nosotros lo pondremos a disposición para que lo opere la Secretaría de Salud, estaremos muy al pendiente de participar con ellos, de sumar esfuerzos para que pues nuestra comunidad tenga un espacio de 50 camas adicionales que pueden abonar a que tengamos un espacio donde nuestras familias, digamos los ciudadanos de Mexicali puedan estar en algún lugar.
Además de poner al servicio de la comunidad baja californiana el Hospital Móvil Universitario, durante la emergencia sanitaria por COVID-19, la UABC contribuyó notablemente al sector salud mediante servicios como fabricación de barreras faciales protectoras para el personal del área de salud, desarrollo y producción de desinfectante coloidal de alta eficiencia, sanitizante cimarrón, desarrollo de prototipo y construcción de ventiladores mecánicos, construcción de cámaras de intubación, elaboración de gel desinfectante a base de alcohol, Cimagel, participación en la red de investigación internacional para el desarrollo de métodos de identificación, diagnóstico y vacuna contra el virus SARS-CoV-2 y tratamiento de COVID-19. Apoyo psicológico a la comunidad en modalidad remota. Centros de diagnóstico COVID-19. Formulación de medio de transporte viral para muestras biológicas de pacientes sospechosos de COVID-19. Participación en el estudio de prevalencia de COVID-19 en Baja California. Sede de la campaña de vacunación COVID-19 en Tijuana y apoyo de voluntarios cimarrones en las jornadas de vacunación en Baja California. La UABC también ha implementado los protocolos necesarios para continuar brindando servicios especializados de alta calidad y bajo costo en favor del desarrollo de sectores vulnerables de la región. Desde sus inicios, el Centro de Telesalud COVID-19 C4 en Tijuana ha brindado asistencia de manera remota a 8,816 personas. La operatividad de este centro requirió más de 100 voluntarios capacitados para fungir como asesores telefónicos y atender las necesidades de consulta médica, psicológica y nutricional. Participan profesores y estudiantes de medicina, odontología, psicología, nutrición, enfermería, técnicos en emergencias médicas y otras carreras afines. De forma presencial, se reactivaron los servicios de consulta médica para la comunidad universitaria, así como los servicios odontológicos y de bufete jurídico. Recientemente se ha puesto en marcha el protocolo institucional para el regreso seguro a clases presenciales, lo que ha permitido un regreso gradual a las actividades académicas in situ. Preocupados también por los problemas de salud mental que la contingencia sanitaria genera en estudiantes y profesores, en la universidad se han atendido oportunamente problemáticas relacionadas con las funciones académicas virtuales. Se ha minimizado la falta de contenidos en línea, se ha fortalecido la formación de profesores en materia de competencias digitales a fin de aprovechar al máximo el potencial que representan las plataformas educativas y los recursos tecnológicos. Asimismo, la UABC ha enfocado sus esfuerzos en atender necesidades de equipamiento y conectividad entre los estudiantes, principal factor de riesgo para la continuidad académica. Además de un periodo de ampliación durante el ciclo 2021, con el que aquellos estudiantes con mayor desventaja pudieron completar el semestre de transición. En el contexto fronterizo, es importante destacar que la UABC ha sido pionera en la atención a problemáticas de salud pública, al igual que diversas instituciones educativas en Estados Unidos. En ese rubro, y como consecuencia de la emergencia por COVID-19, nuestra institución ha reforzado la formación virtual de estudiantes en las áreas de la salud en cursos impartidos en colaboración con universidades de Estados Unidos e Inglaterra. Recientemente se ha adoptado la metodología COIL para la impartición de cursos de áreas como salud mental, tuberculosis, telemedicina y medicina culinaria, entre otros. Este tránsito a la modalidad virtual en cursos compartidos coloca de nueva cuenta a los profesionistas de la salud de la frontera a la vanguardia en materia de actualización académica, tal como lo exige una región binacional tan dinámica y en constante transformación.